Good afternoon, Dr. Farah Rehana Ismail and fellow classmates. My name is Guibin with a student ID SUKD2502353 from Sigi University. Today, I will present my coursework for the Advanced Qualitative Methodology PG8024 course titled Exploring the Reconfiguration of Television in the Age of Social Media, a Qualitative Study. This presentation will walk through the whole research process from introduction to conclusion, and it will take about 10 minutes. I welcome your valuable comments and guidance at the end. Let's start with Chapter 1, the Introduction. This chapter lays the entire foundation for the research, setting the stage by clarifying the research background, identifying existing research gaps, and stating clear research purpose, objectives, and the core research question, all to build a solid base for understanding how audiences experience the reconfiguration of television in their daily lives. First, the research background is rooted in the profound digital transformation of television. TV is no longer an isolated medium. It's deeply integrated into digital ecosystems. And social media has not only expanded its communication boundaries, but also driven fundamental institutional restructuring of the broadcasting industry. This is the core context of this study. Yet, when reviewing existing scholarship, I identified a critical research gap. Current studies on TV's transformation are fragmented, and most frame this change as a binary choice, either decline or survival. This oversimplification completely obscures the adaptive continuity of television, which is the key problem this research aims to address. To fill this gap, this study abandons quantitative metrics and statistical generalization, and instead centers on audience lived experience to explore TV's reconfiguration in the social media age. Based on this core purpose, 3 specific research objectives are set: to explore audience engagement practices in social media enhanced TV viewing, to analyze their attention management strategies in multi-screen environments, and to examine their perceptions of institutional transformation in broadcasting. These objectives all converge to the central research question: how do audiences experience and interpret the reconfiguration of television in the age of social media across engagement practices, attention behaviors, and institutional change? This question guides the entire research process. Moving on to Chapter 2, the literature review. This chapter is not just a summary of existing studies, but an integrative review of 3 interconnected research domains, which helps identify research gaps and establish the theoretical foundation and the methodological pathway for this qualitative study, laying the theoretical and operational groundwork for the subsequent research design. The 3 core theoretical domains of this study are platformization, audience engagement, and attention management. First, platformization focuses on the restructuring of the television industry and the shifting power dynamics brought by platform-based development. Second, audience engagement explores the diverse practices of audiences in social media ecosystems and the formation of participatory culture around TV viewing. Third, attention management delves into the coping mechanisms audiences adopt in multi-screen viewing contexts, where their attention is dispersed across multiple devices. These 3 domains are closely linked and together form the theoretical backbone of this research. Based on this theoretical integration, I also established a clear 6-step methodological pathway for the research. First, define the core research problem by identifying gaps in existing studies. Second, conduct a systematic literature review to build the theoretical framework. Third, design the research with a qualitative case study approach. Fourth, collect data through semi-structured interviews. Fifth, analyze the collected data with thematic analysis. And sixth, draw conclusions, and discuss the theoretical and practical implications of the research. This pathway ensures the research is carried out in a rigorous and structured way. Now, Chapter 3, the methodology. This chapter details the entire qualitative research design and implementation process of this study, including the research paradigm, case study design, participant sampling, data collection, data analysis procedures, as well as considerations for research, trustworthiness, and ethical issues, all to ensure the research is methodologically rigorous and credible. First, the research adopts a qualitative research paradigm combined with a case study design. The reason for this choice is that the reconfiguration of television is a complex social phenomenon closely tied to audiences' subjective and lived experiences. A qualitative case study allows us to explore these complex experiences in depth from the participants' own perspectives and capture the nuanced meanings behind their behaviors, something that quantitative research cannot achieve, and it aligns perfectly with the study's focus on lived experience. Next is Chapter 4, the findings and discussion, the core chapter of this research. This chapter presents the key results from the thematic analysis of the interview data, focuses on exploring patterns in audience engagement practices, attention management strategies, and perceptions of institutional transformation, and further analyzes generational differences in these aspects. Finally, synthesizing all findings to propose a new theoretical model of television reconfiguration. First, the key findings are derived from a rigorous thematic analysis of the interview data, covering the three core dimensions of the research question: engagement, attention, and institutional perception. A notable finding is the distinct generational patterns in TV viewing experiences across three age groups: 18 to 25, 26 to 35, and 36 to 45. When comparing engagement practices, attention management, and the institutional trust across these groups, clear and different media consumption patterns emerge, which is a crucial insight of this study. Based on these findings, especially the generational differences, I propose a theoretical model named Pathway to Reconfiguration. This model clarifies the causal and interactive mechanism of TV's reconfiguration. It starts with audience engagement practices in the social media age, which in turn shape their attention management strategies and perceptual attitudes. These attention and perceptual factors then influence how audiences view the institutional transformation of the broadcasting industry, and ultimately, the interplay of these three elements drives the overall reconfiguration of television. This model visualizes and systematizes the complex process of TV's reconfiguration from the audience's perspective. Finally, Chapter 5, the conclusion, implications, and recommendations. This chapter wraps up the entire research, summarizes the core conclusions, discusses the theoretical and practical implications of the findings, and puts forward specific recommendations for future research, providing a comprehensive summary and forward-looking outlook for this study. From this conclusion, two key implications are drawn. Theoretically, the findings enrich the existing research on media convergence and provide a new audience-centric perspective for understanding the platformization of television and the transformation of media industries. Practically, the findings offer concrete guidance for broadcasters and digital platform designers. It suggests that they should develop more audience-centric content and engagement strategies, taking into account the different needs and behaviors of various age groups to better adapt to the reconfigured TV viewing ecosystem. Finally, for future research, two key recommendations are proposed. First, future studies can explore the longitudinal changes in audience TV viewing behavior, to track how TV's reconfiguration evolves over time with the development of social media and digital technologies. Second, conducting comparative studies across different cultural and geographical contexts can further validate and refine the proposed theoretical model of TV reconfiguration, enhancing its generalizability and explanatory power in different media environments. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I have walked through the whole research from the introduction of the research background and question to the literature review and the theoretical foundation, the detailed qualitative methodology, the core findings, and the proposed theoretical model, and finally the conclusions, implications, and future research recommendations. Thank you all for your attentive listening. I am now ready to take your questions and welcome your valuable feedback.